Hey everyone, it's Marco, your surety bond and bonded title guide. And today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm actually going to walk you through how to complete a Texas certificate of title for a title transfer. I'm going to go through some common mistakes and things to look out for and how to properly complete this so you don't have any issues when you go do a title transfer. Now, I ran a used motor vehicle dealership for close to 5 years. So I learned a ton about title work and what you have to do to properly transfer a title. It came along with its fair share of issues as well. And, we just learned how to work through the title issues. So here's the front of the title. It's pretty straightforward. So let's jump right into it. So yours more than likely is going to have all this information completed. You're going to have your vehicle identification number, the year, the make of the vehicle, the body style, the model, the manufactured capacity in tons, which is determined by the manufacturer. The next, you're going to see the weight, the empty weight of the vehicle, and then license plate number if it has any when it was titled, or when it is titled, what the current license plate number is. You're also going to have your title document number and then the date the title it was issued. So this is a long string of numbers, and it's just the title number for this particular title. It's not the same as this number up here. This one is completely different. If you're filling out paperwork, the title document number is usually going to ask for that. So it's a long string of numbers here. So down here, you're going to have the previous owner, name and city, and then the odometer reading at the time the vehicle was titled. And then the current owner information is going to be in this section here. You're going to have the owner name and their address here. And then if this title has any remarks, such as a bonded title, salvage title, a rebuilt title, it's going to have all that information here. Now, what's very important here is that you have to make sure that the current owner does sign on this line here. I've seen some titles get transferred without this signature, but I would not recommend it. So make sure that you get the owner, when you purchase the vehicle, that you get the owner to sign there, because it's going to save you trips of going back and forth. So they sign here, should be good to go. For the most part, that's all you would need from the current owner. Now down here, you're going to have your lien information. So you're going to see all the lien holders that have put a lien against this vehicle. And then you're going to have the date of the lien, the information of the lien holder in this section. And then once that lien does get released, you would have the lien, the first lien release date, and then the signature by the authorized agent of that lien holder. If you come across a title that has date of lien and information on the lien holder, but this section has not been completed, then you will need to see if the current owner has any paperwork stating that the lien holder has released that lien. If not, you'll have to investigate that and figure out what's going on, why that lien has not been released. It's very rare that it does happen, but you can come across those types of titles. So it's just something to be aware of. I would not recommend purchasing that vehicle until that lien part gets handled, or it gets fixed one way or another. It's just something to be aware of. This section is your rights of survivorship agreement. If there's more than one owner and one of you passes away, the survivor automatically becomes the owner, which avoids probate delays. In most cases, signing here is all you need. The only time the DMV might ask for an extra form, the VTR 122, is if you're updating owners later or making changes without the original title. Right now, let's go ahead and take a look at the back of the title. Here's where the most common mistakes happen, and we're just going to go through it line by line. For the most part, it is pretty straightforward, but just a couple of things to be aware of. On the back of the title, you make sure not to make any mistakes on anything. You can't scratch anything out. You can't scribble anything out. Everything has to be written in the most legible handwriting you can write in. If you do end up making a mistake on it, and it's a pretty big mistake, then you would have to get what's called a statement of fact, title correction affidavit. Now, when that happens, what you need to do is you got to go back to the original owner and then have them sign that paperwork, and you got to get a copy of their ID. This is how most, from what I understand, this is how the counties, this is what the county tax office requires. So you fill out a correction of title form, and on there you're gonna correct wherever you made the mistake, and they're gonna require the original owner's ID and signature on that title. So it's very important that you do not make any mistakes here. So we're just gonna go through it very quickly. Of course, I am on the computer, but you're gonna be doing this with the pen on the actual title. So make sure the name of the purchaser is the person that's buying the vehicle. And then you're going to include the current address of the person buying the vehicle. All right. So once you've got that completed, we're going to move down to the next line, the odometer reading line. Now, what happens here, I've seen a lot of mistakes happen. I've done a ton of bonded titles, and one of the biggest issues I've seen is people tend to put the odometer reading in the date of sale box. I don't know why, but I've seen it more than enough times of that happening. And then they can't go back and get a title correction form or a statement of fact form. So they have to get a bonded title. So make sure that when you purchase the vehicle that you fill out the odometer reading in the correct spot. So that will go on this line right here on the odometer reading. Do not put it in the date of sale. I've also seen people put the date of sale in the odometer reading. That's a common thing. For some reason, these two boxes get mixed up very, very frequently. So it's just something to be aware of, something to understand that where tons of mistakes are being made as far as the title goes. Now, the next box is you would check this if this applies to this particular vehicle. So say the mileage stated is in excess of its mechanical limits, right? You would check that box if the current mileage is in excess of the vehicle's current mechanical limits. Number 2 is the odometer reading is not the actual mileage. Warning, odometer discrepancy. That's if you swapped out the odometer because the other one wasn't working, or maybe something happened where the actual mileage is not what's on the clock, or it's not what's on the odometer. So you would have to check that box and make them aware. Next is the date of sale box. Here you would put the date that you purchased the vehicle. Now be aware, the state of Texas does require that you transfer the vehicle within 30 days of purchase. If you don't, then you are gonna get hit with late fees, and they accumulate, especially now with the new changes in the law. They accumulate. I think there is a cap though, but that's just something to be aware of. The longer you put this off, the more late fees are going to accumulate. All right, so the next part is you got signature of seller agent and the signature of buyer agent lines. This is also another common spot people tend to make the mistake. For some reason, and I've seen this happen, they will they would put the buyer signature and buyer printed name up here, and then they would put the seller signature and seller printed name down here. This top line, make sure signature of seller is the person selling you the vehicle, the owner, the current owner. That's where they would sign and they would print. So make sure that you're not getting these lines mixed up. I'm going to put my name down twice just because I don't have any other signatures. So your name as the buyer will go down here on this line. And then you would print. You will print the seller's name here. Line here. And then the buyer that's buying the vehicle will print their name down here. That's pretty much it as far as making sure you complete the title assignment correctly. Now, another common thing I've seen is people think that if they make a mistake up here, that they can use the box down here. That is not the case. You cannot do that. These extra reassignment sections are usually because dealers, motor vehicle dealers, have the ability to reassign it without transferring the vehicle into their name. So the only way that happens is if they potentially bought it at an auction or they bought it from another dealer. The dealers will just do a reassignment until it's sold to a consumer or a private buyer, and then the title transfer is fully transferred under that buyer's name. Do not make the mistake that just because up here, say you scratch it out, or you made that mistake when you're doing the assignment of title to the new buyer, to the new owner, that you can come down here and fill out this section and everything will be okay. That's not how it works, unfortunately. If that happens, you would have to go and get a statement of fact correction of title form and go through that process. So it's just something to be aware of. Either way, that's everything for this video. It's pretty straightforward. Those are some of the common mistakes that people make when they're transferring the title. It's just stuff to be aware of. If you guys enjoyed this video, found this helpful, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Check out my other videos on bonded titles. If you run into any kind of title issues, or you lost the title, or the title got destroyed and you can't get a certified copy, you would have to check with the TxDMV. But usually the process is you have to get a bonded title, and I have videos on how you go about that process. So go ahead and check them out when you get a chance.